All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Daily Stampede pregame show as USF football will face number 24, Cincinnati Bearcats at Nippert Stadium in Cincinnati in about 22 minutes. I'm your host, Nathan Bond. Alongside me, as always, Seth Varnadore. Seth, you've spent most of the afternoon watching terrible football, so are you excited to continue the tradition unlike any other?
Let's roll it right into the 2:30 window from the noon window. We can just can't keep it going. So I was just getting primed and ready for this game coming up. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like after the first couple of weeks, Cincinnati's offense kind of started to figure it out. EMU transfer Ben Bryant has been pretty good at throwing the football around. He's thrown for over 1,300 yards. I think 13 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions. He's completing about 70% of his passes, or 65% of his passes. And the offense looks just as explosive, even though they've lost a second-round quarterback in Desmond Ridder. They lost a second-round wide receiver in Alec Pierce, and they also lost Jerome Ford to the NFL draft, along with 6 other guys. And it seems like they really haven't missed a beat there, Seth.
No, they've been recruiting really well, and I didn't get the chance to watch their game against Arkansas, but a lot of people that did thought that they had some guys open deep against Arkansas late and just weren't able to hit them. They're starting to hit some of those plays now, and I can go ahead if I can get the Zoom here figured out a little bit. I'll go ahead and throw up some stats for this game. Let's see here. All right, so we've got the stats for the game coming up here. We've got the uniform matchup. Let's see, how do we look here? Do I need to zoom? Do I need to go in even tighter here? Is that good enough?
One more just for my eyes.
All right, let's see if we can go in even a little tighter here.
Nice and tight.
Better?
Yep, that'll work. That'll play.
All right. So you see the uniform matchup there. We may not be able to see a ton of that once I scroll here to put these on display here, but you can kind of see it. So you see the Cincinnati offense. You got 24th in the country in yards per play right now. Not great in like available yard percentage. So maybe a little bit boom or bust offensively, to where you're getting some explosive plays, but you're not generating a ton of consistent drives. And then these numbers are all just FBS versus FBS, or most of them are. So you see USF's numbers are not great, in particular in any section there. So not a great matchup for USF today, but we'll see. The money seems to be coming in late on USF. There's the line is moved back down to 27. So you're seeing a little bit of shift downward there. Oh, we've got speaking of lines.
Oh man,
we got a special guest.
Special guest here, buddy. Oh my goodness gracious. Colin Sherwin of DK Nation joining us just before kickoff to discuss some lines here.
You have some alternate lines here, Colin? What's going on?
No, I don't have alternates. First of all, can you guys hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, so hold on. Let me see if I can get it better.
You sound fine.
Yeah, it sounds great.
No, I don't, because I cannot hear y'all.
But you just heard us. So
wait, that should fix it. There we go. Hi.
Hey, buddy.
Okay. Hey, buddy. So let's go over these lines real quick at DraftKings Nation, or at DraftKings, excuse me, where you should actually check out DraftKings Nation. It's a great website where you can see all sorts of great information about college football. This line opened 26. It is now 27. It got as high as 27.5 this week, and you had to wait a little bit to get it. Total 59 and down to 58.5. So the lack of movement, considering the injuries, I think is super interesting. USF's so bad that even when their good players are hurt, nobody in Vegas cares. Like, that's how bad this team is, and that doesn't happen a lot. Like the Western Kentucky game this morning, there was some movement, and I'm like, these guys aren't that. I mean, there wasn't anybody who was like, life-changingly out. And right now on my injury service, we have Mangum is doubtful, Dukes is doubtful, And
they are not taking, according to Will Turner of Bulls 247, who's up there in Cincinnati, no Jaron Mangum or Mikey Dukes in early part of warmups. And then Daquan Evans will finally play today, but no Rashawn Yates, no Antonio Greer, no TJ Robinson. So
I'm excited to hear. I'm excited to hear that injuries are the problem with this team. I'm excited post game to say, if we were healthy, I think we could have been, just like 3 plays and like 3 more injury, and we could have been right back in that thing. I'm excited for the excuses. That would be fantastic. Anyway, it looks like Kiner is out for Cincinnati as well, hand injury. So just keep that in mind. Honestly, look, I'm furious, man. This ain't good enough. They're gonna get mauled today. What the hell are we supposed to do? How are USF fans supposed to be excited to watch this football game today? How are they supposed to even think on any level? And it's not like you're playing some world beater team. This isn't the Cincinnati team from last year. They're good. They're not life changing. I'm furious, man.
They're still probably. They're still probably going to win the conference, don't you think? They're in the driver's seat, probably.
Yeah, for sure. But this is a bad league. Honestly, look at that Memphis game last night.
Yeah.
That's some terrible ass football. This league is terrible.
So here's the full Derek Sharp put out who's out. Here's kind of your full look at who's out.
Okay. All right, Coach. Is this a team problem or is this just bad luck? Look, you got to hold coaches accountable for what they can be accountable for, but and it is on the coaching staff to recruit depth so that when these things happen, you're prepared. But is this just an unbelievable run of bad luck here, Coach? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. This is bizarre, right? It's these things kind of happen. I don't know. These things are. What kind of injuries are these? Are these all soft tissue injuries, or is it just bad luck where it's a bunch of ankles? I know there are some ankles and stuff like that, but.
Coach, I got a tear in my red shirt.
Yeah.
I don't know. Remember, if you only play 4, you get to keep the year, so you can go somewhere else and continue to play football.
But I think Jimmy Hornwatch, once he steps on that field, I think we'll feel all right.
It's over.
That'll be his 5th. Yeah, that'll be his 5th game, and so he's probably good to go. Here's Cincinnati's offense is still pretty good. Tyler Scott's a big play guy, 28 catches, 500 yards, 6 touchdowns. I think he had 4 touchdowns all of last season. He's become the go-to guy for Ben Bryant. And then they've got 265, 255-plus tight ends that they like to get involved. Josh Wiley and Leonard Taylor are those 2 tight ends combined for 213 yards, 24 catches, 4 touchdowns. And then Trey Tucker has 22 catches, 323 yards, and 2 touchdowns on his own. This defense isn't going to stop a nosebleed. So
no, and Tyler Scott's been added. I don't know if he was on it in the preseason, but he's at least been added to the Biletnikoff watch list. So he's having a good year, like you mentioned. This is not. If you're betting USF, you're counting on Fickle to play really slow and kind of the back door to be wide open, which I've heard some pros that are pretty respectable guys pick USF for that reason. I heard Brad Powers this week talk about just comparing this line to the Florida line, that he wouldn't have Cincinnati. He wouldn't have Cincinnati as a 4-point favorite over Florida on a neutral, so the line didn't make sense to him. So he was taking USF for that reason. But
I agree with the pace stats. Something else to keep in mind is I think one of the most amazing stats I've seen out of this terrible USF team is that every time the opponent runs the ball, they add 0.345 points in total points expectancy. So if you run the ball 3 times, you just get a point just for literally kneeling. Okay, which is incredible. And then when the defense is on the field, they are hold on, where's that echo rate? When the defense is on the field and the other team, the opponent, gets a first down across the plus 40 or better, which is considered echo rate. Every time the opponent does that, they average 6.2 points per possession. That is just insane. If you get a first down on the plus 40 or better, your average score on that possession is 6.2 points. That's obscene.
So almost every quality drive is ending in a touchdown for opponents.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. This is one of the worst. I would say probably what the 2013 USF team might have been worse. But other than that,
I don't think
it's that.
Yeah, they didn't really have anybody on offense. Like they didn't have it. At least they didn't have a Jimmy Horn or a Xavier Weaver for Frank.
Right.
Frankly,
they had.
Here's what I like. Oh, go ahead, Colin.
Oh no, I didn't say anything. It was your. I just heard your.
I thought you were just going silent for dramatic effect there. After you said, "Here's what I like."
Oh no. So here's some stats that I found interesting. Obviously, the obvious one is 1-22 in FBS games, down 2 or more scores after the first quarter in 12 of 23. One FBS win in over 1,000 days. USF's 1-16 trailing after 1 quarter, 0-16 trailing at halftime. Outscored 66-7 in the first quarter this year. Also 0-18 after trailing in 3 quarters. So that's a lot of times that you've been trailing after 3 quarters in your FBS games that there's no way to compete. So the second half numbers, although look good, 3-1 in the second half this season. Good job by Jeff Scott. Overall, trash. I don't understand how this continues to happen and why the ripcord hasn't been pulled quite yet.
First half has at DK, it is Cincinnati minus 15.5 first half. If you were going to jump on that, total 31.
I was trying to find the first quarter, but I don't see it.
I got it here. Hold on. I have some very fancy new software. It is 7.5 at DK, 7 in other places. So if you think USF's going to get blitzed early, if you think USF's going to get blitzed early. Now the only problem. Keep in mind, as a degenerate wagerer, one of the things you always want to keep in mind when betting first quarters is that whoever wins the coin flip has a massive, massive advantage. So,
except when they're USF.
Except when they're USF. So, just realize, see if you can suss out which team. Betting first quarters. If you can suss out that. Either USF would put their offense on the field first or Cincinnati would choose to put their defense on the field first. Then maybe you would fade, but otherwise, in what world would you ever bet on USF?
It seems like Jeff Scott's hesitant to put the offense out on the field first again, just because of that first play interception. It's how it sounded in the press conference the other day. Somebody asked, "Why don't you, maybe try to start fast?" And he said, "We did, and we threw a pick." It's like, okay, is that going to happen every single time? You can't get scared off that just because of one bad outcome on a 50-50 ball.
I moved all in with aces once, and the guy had kings, and he flopped a king, and I lost. You know what? I still move all in with aces every time.
Yeah,
it's just bad process, and that's part of the problem with this team is that the process is bad. I honestly I don't know what you think here, Seth. I don't think they're trying real hard to get points either. I think there's some effort issues out there.
No, I think they're playing hard. It's just there is some where, you go back and look at last week. We didn't get a chance to do the film room, but there are some times where it's like your third string corner's out there and he's getting beaten man coverage. And one thing I did find interesting, I got a stat from somebody. USF is one of the top. They're top 5 in the country in terms of blitzing on pass plays. They're bringing 5 or more. They're top 5 in it. So when if you play aggressive like that, I think people would probably prefer that amount of aggression compared to years past. But if you don't win in man coverage, you're going to get wrecked. So that's what we saw against ECU. They blitzed. They played a lot of man coverage, and ECU made them pay. So sometimes you can kind of boom or bust that, though, and you can get lucky. I don't think it's an effort issue. I think it's just they're not playing
very good.
Well. Yeah, they're not playing.
Well, they're also. So. But what about them also not being very good? Which was my contention about this defense before the season started. It was everybody's like, "Well, they're improved defense." Have they? Really?
And they're.
To be fair, we were just hoping them to not be atrocious. If you
they'd be 100,
abysmal instead of atrocious,
double digits would have been fine.
Yeah, our goal was to get under 100, and we're cooking. but it's not quite as you can see by the stats on the field. You're closer to being the worst defense in the country than you are to being an average defense. So
there's 131 teams, by the way. If you're not,
so yards per play, 127th, available yards percentage, which I think is more informative than even yards per play, 126. So if just to like Colin's point earlier, if you get the ball in any kind of decent field position and you pick up 66% of the available yards, you're putting yourself in scoring position almost every drive, right? Like, I mean, if you're picking up 2/3 of yards from the 25, even after a touchback, you're probably in field goal range or pretty close to it, right? So, not great.
Oh, I just realized. Yeah, to Joe in our chat. Yeah, I just realized. I'm sorry. My friend came over and gave me a sticker that was politics. Sorry about that. That's not. I'll put that off here. My bad. I think this team sucks. Like, they're just kind of the worst. And it's painful to watch. I don't know why everyone in the USF administration has been dead silent, acting like that this is just sort of like, oh, go team. You know what I mean? Like, no, bullshit. Like, you're sending me emails asking me to go to the tailgate at Houston. And I want to know, like, what is the long-term prognosis of this program? Like, say something about what's going on the field. Tell me why people should go to homecoming. Let's have an honest conversation.
Because 2 Chainz is going to be there.
Oh, I went for my birthday is 2 Chainz. So, like, let's go. Like,
I mean, 2 Chainz is the concert, man. That's a pretty good concert. I would go.
Definitely. Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Let's do this.
So we're about 5 minutes out from kickoff here. Let's get predictions. Seth, I think you had picked Cincinnati to win handedly. You sticking with that?
Yeah, I think I picked 45-17 on the pod. I'll just stick with it. I do think there is a USF backdoor possibility if Cincinnati kind of comes out slow like they've shown in the past against USF, but I wouldn't bet on it. So yeah, I'll stick with 45-17.
Colin,
hold on. I'm going. Make your pick, and I'm going to make mine right after yours. Go ahead.
Okay. So I picked 55-17 Cincinnati on the podcast and in the preview. I'm sticking with it. No shot. USF keeps up.
Okay. So a classic 3-way chili at the Skyline in Clearwater starts at $3.75. So I'm going to go Cincinnati 375, USF 2.
You need to add in the cost of medication afterwards.
Yeah. No, real score. I think Cincinnati, the only thing that's going to hold Cincinnati back today is Luke Fickell and their desire they are one of the bottom 5 teams in the country in pace. So that's the only thing that's going to keep this thing close. USF, let's give them a field goal. Some cheap turnover, they make a play somewhere downfield and they get a cheapy field goal. So let's go 47-3 Bearcats, and somehow UC misses an extra point along the way.
I have one question before we get out. Does any scenario possible in this game change your opinion on this team and the staff?
Sure.
Don't get out in the first half.
Show me something dynamic offense. Show me some dynamic offense. Show me something that I haven't seen before. Show me that they can look competent moving the ball. Like, I'm watching Oklahoma right now just get absolutely mauled in all phases of football. They look terrible. This is not a football team that's competitive at the level that Oklahoma should be competitive at. USF is not a football team that is in year 3, unlike year 1 for Brent Venables, that is not anywhere near competitive at the level of football that they should be at. Prove me wrong. I just don't think they will. Like, you go back and you look at that Florida game. Yeah, they got a couple of bad calls for sure. And I think if the calls go right, then maybe they do win that game. But I think what we've seen from that Florida team is that they are kind of a mirage, and that red zone turnovers will kill anybody. So yeah, I think this team just stinks. The fact that it's okay to be bad. It's okay to lose games. It's not okay to be this bad. That's my problem. Is that they're this bad. It's okay to lose. It's
Right.
not okay to lose like,
All right. Well, that'll take you right into the game.
Let's do this.
Right.
Go Bulls, baby.
Go Bulls for Seth and Nathan and Colin. We'll be here. Seth and I will be here at halftime to recap the first half. Hopefully it's not a blowout. Go Bulls.
Yeah. Go Bulls.